It's July 11th, 2019, and you're listening to the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable.
Remember, this is what we wanted. Remember, this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again. Remember, this is what we wanted. Remember, this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again.
Hello and welcome to the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. I'm your host, Chris Quinn, coming to you with a very special, second special in a row, hour-long radio jam, as my friend Edmar would say. It's a little bit, it's going to be fun. Apparently, the topics have been set and we're all ready to go. So I've been on a bit of a road trip. I did a show last night. I'm curious which show will end up getting out first. I think this one probably will. Was down in St. Louis and did a special show down there with Second Shift. And yeah, it was cool. We did Civil Life and Perennial was there. And
what'd you guys talk about, Chris?
Talked about St. Louis beer.
What's the deal with St. Louis beer? I hear that the faucets run with Busch Light, and that if you're in a swimming pool, it's Budweiser.
You know what? There's a lot of local love for Old AB.
Yeah.
It was their hometown beer. They were very philanthropic locally. They were very good to the local people. There were a lot of good, high-paying jobs there. So there's definitely some sadness to see how it's gone, but also they saw it as, without it, the craft beer scene wouldn't be where it is because the locals have looked to really, they're already more, I don't know if beer savvy is the right way, but they're more open to
beer in general,
to like local beer business. Yeah. So they were looking to replace that loss with other local craft breweries, and they think that's really helped the craft beer scene.
So St. Louis recognized that the Borg took over the Anheuser-Busch brand
version of
company.
The Borg. One version of the Borg was even
more Borgiful.
They were Borg.
Very Borgified.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Borg was Borged, essentially.
But they still appreciate the local. That was their Borg. It's our Borg.
Yeah.
Right? So they appreciated it.
Right.
And they appreciated.
And I did push back because they were talking about how somebody came in and took all the jobs away. And then I used the story that I've used several times. I said, well, I just want to push back because the same thing happened to me. Or in my local area, somewhat local area, with our local beer, which was Rolling Rock. It wasn't Yingling, it was Rolling Rock, and Anheuser-Busch came in and then pulled all the jobs away and closed down the brewery. So I was like, you just have to realize that, it's the same thing. It's now happened to you on a bigger scale. And Latrobe, Pennsylvania is not St. Louis, Missouri either. It happened on a much bigger scale. But yeah, so we'll get that show out. We'll have to see what it sounds like because I asked producer Jamie to borrow some equipment to do a show on location, and he managed to scrounge up absolutely no equipment for me. So
excellent.
We'll have
so
to
that
see.
Worked really well.
We'll have to see how it sounds.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But I wanted to thank you guys coming in.
Thanks, Chris, for having us on, man. I know that you were really excited about doing a second show after your show yesterday.
Yeah, I drove up from St. Louis this morning.
Yeah, to have this show. So it's super cool.
But I will say, we'll get to our guests in a moment. But I do want to say, because it's been a while since I went on a Scratch rant, because whenever I was anywhere near there, I had to make sure I visited Scratch Brewing. So I spent the night
you went
the
to
day
Scratch
before,
in the
myself.
southern part of Illinois by yourself.
It was 100 degrees and like 90% humidity.
And then the next day you drove to St. Louis.
St. Louis, and then I drove the next day back up here. Scratch is still absolutely insane and doing amazing things. I was just like walking around the grounds by myself, and they're like, "Oh, I have to go, but you can just walk in and pour yourself anything." And I didn't need to be told that twice. So then I went down and found the pond they have down there and just started going fishing.
No.
And yeah, caught a bunch of bass down there. And then on the way up, then Aaron, one of the owners, came down, and their main foraging guy. And we walked back up, and he's like, "Oh, what are these?" And it was just like chanterelle mushrooms all over the place. So he's like, "Here, let's just grab some. We'll have them for breakfast tomorrow."
Oh my god!
So we just like grabbed handfuls of chanterelles
off the ground.
Yeah, just pick them right up off the ground.
And you made some scrambled eggs and
chanterelle. We didn't end up doing it the next morning, so he just gave them to me. So in my car right now is a paper bag with, I don't know, however much this is, several handfuls of of chanterelle mushrooms. So
there's a underground market in Chicago for fresh picked chanterelles.
They won't be getting any because I'm going to eat them all.
All right.
Yeah, I'm going to eat all of them. So that was really cool. They're doing some fun stuff down there. I do highly recommend anyone. They said they get a lot of tourist business now, and people coming from out of country.
Beautiful.
Yeah, like coming.
Beautiful.
And they're doing Midwest beer tours, tourism, and Scratch being the place they go to, and then finding other places to go.
Incredible.
To justify it, which is amazing.
Mind-blowing.
Because you can't get cell service there. It's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So I do think we should try to get some sort of beer retreat going down there.
I love it, man.
Because you have to see this place to experience it. It's pretty.
Aren't you
awesome.
Launching a special Patreon thing? And maybe that's something you do when you sign up for the Insiders Roundtable Patreon. 4 people will be selected as guests for a guided trip down to the South by Chris Quinn.
Sure, why not?
Into like the depths of the forest, the arboreal wonderland of Southern Illinois.
Yeah,
and you'll be able to pick your own chanterelles if they're available, or possibly just catch bass with your hands like you did.
Yep. With my mouth. I did them like bobbing.
Oh, you
did
bobbing style?
But I just did it with my mouth.
That's pretty old school.
Pulled it up, and it was good though. But anyway, so it's been an eventful thing. I rode on an electric scooter. We don't have too much time, so let me get going. The goal of this show is for me to recreate some of my favorite things, which is sitting around having beer with cool people who know beer and like to talk about beer. And that's what we're trying to recreate here with the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. It's going to be kind of a mini ep this week. And, everyone's opinion is their own. I have to say that little thing before I introduce my guests, and especially anytime you're on, Edmar.
Yeah,
I want you to be.
You got to make it clear to the listeners that my opinion is my opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I am just saying what I think, and I'm not representing the station, Mars Community Brewing, Chris Quinn, the Beer Temple.
Anyone? Yeah.
No one.
So. Well, let's get to the introductions then. We always introduce people in order of seniority, that being how many times they've been on the show. Pretty clear-cut order this time. You're first, Mr. Edmar.
Hey, nice to be here. Thanks for having me, Chris. I know that you were inviting me to this show for the past few months, and I want to thank you for locking this date in with me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Well, that makes, it's just you, but... Anything new with you? Don't
absolutely
even
not. I'm fine. Nothing's going on.
My next guest has been on, several times, but has been in person one other time. Your second in person appearance, and it's nice to see you, Mr. Jason Notte. What's up, man?
Hey, thanks for having me, Chris. I got to tell you, this is great. This is the tail end of a big road trip. Me and a couple of friends went from Denver to here via Minneapolis.
Wow.
Yeah, lots of great beer along the way. Just kind of lots of great looks at what everybody's doing in various scenes.
What brought about the trip from? That's a big road trip.
Well, one of the reasons I haven't been on in a long time is because I've been kind of transitioning during my career. Mm-hmm. I've been moving from writing about beer and sports business to other things, and I was at a point where I thought I was basically going to be unemployed for months at a time. That didn't happen.
That's good.
But when I thought it was, all going down the tubes, I told my wife, I said, I haven't seen a bunch of friends in a while. I really want to, make the most of the time. And she said, just go.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
if
awesome.
you have people doing something, do it. And my buddy Paul from back at Syracuse and back in Boston just said he was following his partner on her book tour. Let's see. Sorry, just kind of lost train of thought there. But we followed her through a couple of dates. She's speaking here tomorrow. And yeah, it was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so.
You're doing like a mini
What's the
book
book
tour.
about?
The book is by she authored it with a woman named Chessie Proust. The book is called I Have a Right To. It is about a number of things that Chessie experienced while she was going to a private school for high school. It is about, it's basically about. I hesitate to say this here, but it's about sexual assault. It's about agency. It's about the fundamental right of women to go through very basic experiences in life and not have to worry about being assaulted, not having to worry about just going to school and having somebody who assaulted you be there on a regular basis.
Right.
So it's a brilliant book. Chessie is an absolutely amazing human being. I'm not quite sure where the talk is tomorrow, but if you're out there, look it up. I know she's on the book tour for another couple of months. Absolutely fantastic.
Awesome. Wow. Yeah, that's great. And are you going just kind of city to city with these folks and doing the kind of book tour thing?
That's exactly it. A friend of mine lives just close to Denver, so we visited him first. We took him to Sioux Falls with us and to Rapid City. Went and saw everything that's basically chiseled out of stone in Rapid City. He left in Minnesota. Then I came here to see one of my absolute favorite people, who is your next guest. And I think the last time I saw him in person was the last time I was sitting in this booth.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so that's overdue.
Why don't you just roll right in? Why don't you introduce your friend then?
I don't know if I could do an intro that does him justice, but I've known him for more than 20 years. He is a consummate journalism professional. He has written for several publications, including Crane's Business and the Press Herald here locally, and is currently with Eater Chicago. And it would be my great pleasure to announce Mr. Ashok Selvam.
Hey guys,
Hey, what's up?
Man,
How are
what
you?
an intro.
I'm feeling so great after this enthusiasm. Good to see you, Jay.
Good seeing you, sir.
Yeah. So what's going on?
How are you? And we've talked in the past, but not for quite a while. Is that right?
Yeah, I think last time I saw both of you was at the Delilah's anniversary.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
And then Ed and I talked about the difference between Bucktown and Logan Square. Yeah. And,
Fascinating.
as Eater, we cover restaurants, but once in a while we get the occasional beer story in.
Nice. Hold on. I got to move this because it's like right in the path of. There.
There you go.
Now I can see you a little bit better. Okay, cool.
great.
Sorry. You can just tilt that up, Jason, if you want. I was just adjusting mics. It's hard to.
Oh, that's fine.
Oh, there you go. Got the nice deep.
Well, I
tones
like
on
how
it.
you guys are kind of like a package when you come on the show here. It's nice.
Yeah.
It's a deal.
Now this is an interesting show.
And also because there's someone else in the studio.
Oh, there's another.
someone in the peanut gallery. That's true. But sometimes the people in the peanut gallery like to
Want to be
remain-
anonymous?
Yeah, they're in the peanut gallery for reasons.
Are you
right?
contractually bound? Can we reveal your identity?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, my wife Shilpa Selvam is in the audience.
Nice.
Very nice.
Cool.
Thank you for joining us.
Awesome. Yeah. I think if you go there, we got it all good. Oh, perfect. Thanks for setting that up. All right. So, why don't we? Can we quickly? I'd love to hear, since you guys have been on, since you've been on a tour, Jason. Any beers that you've had lately that have stood out to you as being exceptional for one reason or another, exceptionally good or bad?
Well, going from, to just kind of larger beer cities, Denver and Minneapolis, I've been trying to hit the classics. Going to Minneapolis and having Summit Pale Ale for, I think, the first time in like 15 years.
Oh my gosh!
Right, was kind of revelatory. It was
It's a classic, man.
It really is. And
Missed those beers.
yeah, and you stack it up with something like some of the IPAs from Indeed, which are fantastic beers, and some of the we had some one-offs while we were there, just kind of like canned special releases. And I think it's very telling that I can't tell you the name of the breweries that I had them from because I have no idea. It seriously, it was a can handed to me, and it's like, ooh, that tastes like juice, and then it went.
Yeah.
But I knew to look for I knew to look for Summit, and yeah, I hadn't had that beer in a good long time, and it was absolutely fantastic. And we did kind of the same thing in Denver as well, going right to the New Belgium beers instead of going to, kind of hazier or, more popular beers at the time. It's a very old man approach to craft beer, but it was something I really enjoyed doing.
Yeah.
It was a nice reminder. As we talk about that, I was in Madison, and that beer that just kind of popped off air there was New Glarus, a little spotted cow. Yeah, never had it.
Really?
Well, how often am I in Wisconsin?
That's
I'm
true.
barely here.
That's true.
So,
We
yeah.
were talking about that beer yesterday in St. Louis because there's really few beers like it where it's been so adopted up and down. I mean, the only thing I could compare it to would be Yuengling Lager in Pennsylvania anyway, where the locals, if you go to the highest end restaurant or the shadiest dive bar, you don't know what beers are going to have, but Spotted Cow will be among it or Yuengling will be among it. It goes across all kind of like social and economic just groupings, more or less, and it's just ubiquitous, which is kind of cool. I like that a beer can be kind of just the locals beer and it doesn't matter anything else. If you're from here, then you know the beer and it's kind of cool. I like that about Spotted Cow.
To kind of jump on that, we were at a wedding in the Jersey Shore last weekend, and it was the groom was Indian, the bride was Chinese. They had Yuengling, and it was kind of amazing.
Yeah, that's just it's ubiquitous out there, it's kind of cool. I like that. And Spotted Cow, I get that very much the same feeling. I mean, they're obviously not anywhere near as big as Yuengling's amazing that they essentially make more or less one beer. I mean, I know they make other beers, but I mean, it's 95, I'm sure, % plus Yuengling Lager, and the spread that has done in the face of this craft beer boom, where they just kind of were the anti-craft beer in a way.
Hey,
pretty cool.
They're craft beer.
No, they are now, but they have been. They haven't been, and were the originals to could care less whether they were or not. They're like, okay, if we are, if we aren't, it doesn't matter to us. Anyone else want to go? Anyone's had any beers that they've enjoyed recently?
Well, I just met some cats in the tap room, and I want to break this out. It's the Galaxy Lactics Double IPA from
man,
a
sounds
brewery,
like a haze banger that I can't wait to try.
Urban Roots Brewing. Has you ever heard of Urban Roots at all? Northern California brewery, I suppose.
I literally have like 1 ounce. I think that's all.
Let me
want.
pour this in here.
That's fine. That's enough.
Look at that.
Yeah, look at that. Just like.
So I haven't tried this beer, but I love the artwork on the can.
Yeah,
it's pretty damn good.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's fine. Anyway,
but no, Chris, I have nothing else to say.
Okay, nothing else to say. That's
about
good.
any beers I've had. Yeah.
I had a beer from scratch yesterday that had
were you at Scratch?
Toasted, foraged lotus seeds in it. It was like an alt beer. It was amazing. Wow. It was so awesome. It was really, really good. And then I had some beers from Civil Life. They do all like session beers down in St. Louis. And they had an American Brown that was awesome. It's their flagship, so it's nice that you can have a brewery nowadays who has sizable. I mean, I think they're like 3,000 barrels a year, something like that, and it's like 60% of their sales is an American Brown, which is, I think,
what?
Yeah, right.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that crazy?
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Wow.
So that was neat. Anything else? I mean, I know I kind of threw that at you. So
No, I was over at Off Color a couple days ago. Saw our buddy John. He was wearing a T-shirt that
John
said
Wildfire.
"Crocodiles aren't real," and that was before the whole Chance the Snapper
Nice.
thing took off.
Nice.
Yes.
He also said that he knew who you are, Jason, because you have been entangled in some major Twitter battles before.
Oh yeah, Jason is
He is a Twitter
Yeah.
a protagonist.
he is
What's going on with you, buddy? What
starting
happens?
some flame wars
Yeah, what
over
happens?
the years.
What happens?
Well,
You get outraged about things? What? What was your latest battle?
and the funny thing is, it's John Laffler, like somebody I don't want to scrap with in the least. Somebody I follow just because I'm basically like learning things from him. And I don't know where we went wrong. I think it was a Miller Lite conversation, and it kind of went off the rails. So if John is out there, I heartily apologize. Everybody at Off Color Brewing has been, more than gracious. But yeah,
You're like a flame war guy. You're the flamer.
You should see.
You're trolling.
You should see what he's saying. He's acting very gracious in
Yeah.
his voice, but if you saw in here, he's giving middle fingers
Yeah.
all over the
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
Just like college all over
He
again.
just
Yeah.
drew all over John's
the
face. on the little app
kind of
on
like
his phone.
the little the hand motion that he was giving. Yeah.
well,
Okay.
not for
Oh,
anything.
interesting.
You cover business and you cover various industries, and there are very few industries out there where people make these declarative statements and these statements of dogma like you see in the
brewing industry?
in the craft portion of the brewing industry. I'll state that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have a lot of people who feel very passionately about things, and sometimes they just say a lot of things that are wrong. I happen to point that out more often than not, and people get mad, and I'm sorry it is that way. I feel genuinely bad this week because I know Jeremy Danner from Boulevard
Yes.
Brewing
Well, formerly of
Boulevard Brewing is not there anymore. And while while me and him have butted heads on several occasions, Jeremy Danner was one of the best things that brewery had going. He was a face for that brewery and a personality for it, and they are the lesser for his absence. So I'm sorry. I'm really sorry to see that.
Yep. And he was always willing to, speak his mind in a very thoughtful and, I think, just pleasant way, and cordial, I'll say. He was on this show, and I think he was, definitely not. I don't want to say he was ganged up on, but he was definitely in the minority in his opinion, and he was, very cordial and very respectful, and just pled his case, and it was really nice to have him on. So that is sad to see him go, and hopefully he'll pop up somewhere else and be a great personality or a great person for someone else or for his own thing. Who knows? So let's get right into it, though. Let's jump. We're not going to be taking these station IDs. I'm not going to let you know that you're listening to WLPN LP Chicago 105.5 FM. I'm just not going to say that this time.
We don't have to talk about that.
We don't have time.
Yeah.
It's your station, Ed. You can tell me what I can
No, it's
and
not my
can't do.
station. No,
Well,
don't say that.
Okay, I won't. All right. He's nodding again, nodding yes,
Yeah.
up and down.
Okay, don't say that.
Yeah. So, Ed, you started to tell me about what
here's
you
the thing.
wanted to talk about, but I stopped you because I said save it for the air.
You know,
man.
it's really not my idea. So I want to.
But
I want to
you
take
talk
credit
about
for,
yeah.
I want to take credit for everyone else's ideas, and I want to take credit for today's subject that
Perfect.
Jason brought up, which is the idea of the mini Borgs. Let's give a little background on the Borgs. The big beer Borg out there today is AB InBev, which is a giant conglomerate that runs the majority of all beer business in the world.
Yep.
I
Literally
in every country in the world. That the beer Borg has been notorious for absorbing and purchasing many regional craft breweries in the United States and around the world. Notably here in Chicago, they purchased Goose Island. They've purchased Golden Road in California. Is it Wicked Weed or is Wicked Weed with Miller Coors?
Wicked Weed. Yep.
Wicked Weed, and maybe 12. Elysian,
Four Peaks,
Devil's
10
Backbone,
Barrel,
yeah.
Devil's Backbone. Yeah.
So the reason we call it the Borg because it's absorbing our industry, right? It's absorbing the craft beer industry, and it's also through absorbing these businesses, it creates a face that they are indeed craft breweries as well, right? So what we talk about the beer Borg, we talk about this. I would call them an adversary, who all the craft brewers are battling against, much like we're a bunch of 7,000 Davids against this Goliath.
And I think one thing that you hit on a little bit, but I want to drive home a little bit more, that I think makes them, in your mind, extra Borgy, is rather than come up with their own brands and try to build them like they may have in the past, now they seem to wait for people to establish their own credibility and their own brand identity and then acquire them and just kind of take it, which seems to be the way that, that's how business is done, not just in beer, but in general now. People have learned that, you buy the, what do you call it? The brand, you have a...
The capital, the cultural capital?
Cultural capital. The cultural capital, yes.
Along with the physical plant and the people involved with that company.
Which may be less important to them, honestly.
The people are not important to them, no. It's the brand and that the assets of the brand and their reach within various communities and consumer groups and customer bases,
Yeah. So mini Borgs.
So recently,
What is a mini Borg, Jason?
I don't know if we can put it as so defined. I mean, I will
give me the concept of a
All
mini
right,
Borg.
so
then.
you think of the second tier. There's this second tier of beer that kind of floats between the Borg, the giant mothership, and your little, federation of planets. Mars.
I like this. That you're keeping this metaphor going
exactly.
so strong.
So you have the Federation of Planets, and there are all these small little planets, and they have these little ships that kind of go in between the distribution, as it were. And in the middle, there's this entity, and they are larger. They have far different interests than the Federation. They want to go further into the universe, into the galaxy. They want to be able to spread their own influence and their own culture throughout. I think the best embodiment of this is Boston Beer. Boston Beer did not start as it. I know Jim Koch has his story. He has his story and he likes to stick to it.
Yeah.
The truth is, Jim Koch comes from a family that is of this ilk, that is of the mini Borg. You look at the legacy Cincinnati breweries, the places that were in Over the Rhine before Over the Rhine became just like Rheingeist. Big brewing plants employing a lot of the local community, but also spread out throughout multiple states, maybe nationally. And in Jim Koch's mind, he always wanted to kind of bring that back to say, hey, look, I as an independent can do this. It doesn't have to be all AB's show. It doesn't have to be all Miller Coors' show. But I, with my lager, can go throughout the country and make all of this happen. And
make what happen? Like he can kind of start a revolution where there's several of him, or he can control several little breweries?
He can control several little breweries.
Got it.
So, you even start at the beginning when he was contract brewing with Miller Coors Breweries, when he was, over in Portland, he was with the Blitz Weinhardt brewery there. He made something called Oregon Originals that were neither of Oregon nor completely original. And it just alienated a whole bunch of people there. But
was it Boston Beer? Was it from Boston Beer, or was it its own brand?
It was it was a sub-brand. Think of it as the Blue Moon of Boston Beer. Yes, sub-brand, but definitely under their purview. But, if you have Boston Beer or a Samuel Adams product now, there's just as much chance that it came to you from Allentown or from Cincinnati than it did from, actually, greater chance of it coming from either of those places than anywhere in Boston, unless you happen to walk up into that tap room. It is by no means, it's, they have nice offices down on the waterfront, but it's not a Boston.
And never has been.
No, it hasn't. It's kind of one of the greatest tricks the devil ever played, is convincing you that that was a Boston beer. But they've gone on to, through various ventures, including their Alchemy and Science branch, which was run by the head of Magic Hat at one point, bought out Angel City in Los Angeles, bought out Coney Island Brewing in New York, and just recently, and everybody knows this, bought out Dogfish Head. And, you know, this is a company that is also, you know, it's diversifying its portfolio. Produces not one, but two hard seltzers, produces twisted tea, produces a cider brand, has a bunch of things that, you know, a couple of years ago would have made it persona non grata in the craft club. But, you know, they're a big player, and the Brewers Association likes to keep them in-house. But
It makes their numbers look good, I would think.
It makes their numbers, look very glossy, and, you know, it doesn't really matter that a lot of their business is now, you know, seltzer. But this is the kind of power that they wield, and they're a publicly traded company. Jim Cook still owns a majority of the shares, but, you know, they're beholden to shareholders. They need to turn profit. They need to kind of make that profit and make the shareholders happy by any means necessary. And that leads you to certain different things. And it's funny because as much as kind of the the Federation doesn't like giving them a whole lot of credit, you know, you see this trickle down to other breweries who are like, hey, you know, we're of this size. Why don't we try a hard seltzer? Why don't we try, you know, spinning off this brand that we had for a couple of years that was closely associated with our brewery, and we'll even use our logo and our little creature and, you know, make that its own tent. You know, we'll spread out into other breweries, both across the country and overseas. And we've
what are they doing overseas?
Boston Beer, nothing. He goes there to accept awards from the Germans every once in a while, and he buys hops over there, but he doesn't have any facilities. However, some of the other more minor Borgs certainly have opened facilities overseas. And yes, I would call the other person with that last name a member of that mini Borg class.
Okay, Greg?
Yeah, Stone took $100 million in private equity funding, was planning to buy out all these breweries through this venture capital initiative that never happened, opened a brewery in Berlin, and told people in Germany that we're going to change the way you consume beer because you're not doing it right. And that's going to work out
arrogant.
I remember that episode when the Borg said they wanted to make everyone drink Glom juice on TV, and no one would have it. No one would believe them. And it revolted, and I remember them chasing the Borg out of their galaxy.
But yeah.
What season was that? I don't remember.
I think it was
but this is
one of the
very
early
interesting
episodes.
to think about Stone Brewing as a mini Borg is interesting because they actually started that investment fund that was specifically set up to purchase and support small craft breweries. They had $100 million in that fund, and after a few years, they never did anything with the fund. So what was going on with that mini Borg? They had money. They asked for the money back?
They didn't do the thing that they were going to do.
They didn't Borg out.
Yeah, but what happened with that money is not known.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you have the closure of the one facility. We saw what happened when Dogfish Head started owing money to private equity. You know, all of a sudden they needed to be bailed out. So, I mean...
We presume.
All right. So we'll presume... And maybe bailout is too strong. But when private equity wants its money, they want their money.
Yeah, and it was in that horizon of where you would expect that money to start coming
3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
That's the clock starts ticking. You have 3 to 5 years.
And your friend, Tony McGee, was the one who called it. He said they were zombie breweries. They're ticking time bombs, and you could see Anheuser-Busch. He said, you know, snap up 30 of them in 1 year. Now, I think they probably don't need to anymore, but he didn't maybe get that right, but
right.
Who knows?
Tony, my personal guru and savior, did say that. Yeah.
How's he doing now?
I think he's in
I
Nepal
think
still.
he's living well,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Yep, I think Tony's doing very well. He escaped the orbit of the mini Borg from Belgium, right?
And
Would
got
you
with the
consider
Dutch. And got with
Heineken
the Dutch.
a mini Borg as well?
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And what about Duvel? Are they a mini Borg?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, seriously. If you
Yes.
can reserve that much shelf space and get all these brands and make those kinds of pushes, yeah, you're a mini Borg.
All right,
Oscar
how about
Blue's
this one?
Totally a mini Borg.
What about Brewdog?
Brewdog?
Yeah.
Brewdog is
A wannabe mini Borg?
no, they're like a mini Borg with like a great Ponzi scheme going. Like that's
A Ponzi Borg.
yeah, they're
A Pyramid Borg.
Pyramid Borg.
It is amazing. It's
Well,
absolutely
why? Why do you say that?
Well, not for anything, to go to the well for crowdfunding, in the first place, and to have it succeed so well that you end up doing it again and trying to replicate the experience here in the States too, it's kind of amazing. And also, I think, not very sustainable. You're wearing a T-shirt.
I was gonna. That's who I was
Yeah.
gonna ask next.
There's-
what about
Yeah.
what about Modern Times?
What's happening?
If Modern Times isn't, they're getting close. I mean, they took some private equity money, but they also made it a employee stock ownership program. They let it be an employee-run brewery. What does that mean? That doesn't necessarily mean that they're safe for the rest of their lives. What that means is that they have a whole bunch of other people who have an investment in the brewery who want to see their money back. So what did we see Modern Times do? Make a whole little infomercial about how they need more investment from like the public, are looking to get more private equity investment.
And showed really that they are seriously in the red, really, and that they need to grow in order to survive.
They put all their books out there. I give them a lot of credit for
Yeah,
that.
that was
because
crazy.
that's-
Yeah.
I mean, that has the potential to be super embarrassing, but from a business standpoint, you need to let people know what they're investing in, and that's a very savvy move. Just say, listen, this is the problem. This is how in the red we are. We need capital to sustain it, but there's a bit of the equation missing, right? There's an unspoken part, which is how do we get you your money back? How do we make this work out for you? One would think that would be a transaction. One would think that would be a sale at the end that clears everybody's books and makes everybody happy. I don't jump to that conclusion, but they're doing a lot of capital investment. They're building a lot of facilities out in California.
Buying other people's facilities.
Quite right. Exactly. You look at Commons Brewing in Portland. They are currently in that space, making a go of it. It's a profitable brewery for them, but at the same time, it's overhead and an expense that they didn't have 5 years ago. So this is a lot for a small operation, a little federation of planets to take on.
Well, what do you think's going to happen with those guys? They asked for some investment. Did they get all the crowdfunding they wanted? Did they hit the number?
They wanted $1 million, I think, is what they're asking for.
And honestly, I didn't.
I don't know.
I didn't check in.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I could take a look and see if that happens again. But
Look
yeah,
at Modern Times and
Yeah,
GoFundMe.
Google
I
Modern
think it was
Times, Mini
GoFundMe.
Borg.
No, Modern Times GoFundMe. Let's see where they're at.
but you see that there's already examples of how this plays out, even with private equity. We have a
Craft Brewers Alliance.
Craft Brewers Alliance. They're at a crucial moment in August where they have to make a decision whether or not to sell to Anheuser-Busch InBev outright. So that's looming. Portland Brewing and Pyramid and Magic Hat. They're all members of this Costa Rican food conglomerate now.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. They sold to a venture capital concern that later sold them to Florida Ice and Farm, which is a Costa Rican food conglomerate.
So Modern Times raised, I'm sorry to interrupt, 1.2 of 1 million asked.
There it is.
Yeah.
So successful. And can you knock them for trying it? Or if they know that they have that kind of support out there? No, you can't. Will that support
Right.
always be there? Hard to say.
Well, I'm a great admirer of Modern Times' aesthetic, right? I like that they have a kind of interesting kind of graphic design and environments for their places. And I like the fact that they're into coffee as well as beer, right?
Oh, yeah.
The average
but-
investor, I was just looking up, they had 1,100 and some investors. The average investor invested $1,030.
You've got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
I know WeFunder website or something.
That is
$1,030 and 66 cents.
That is
on average.
Incredible. And
Yeah.
what do they get for that?
I mean,
Swag? Guaranteed beer?
swag.
What is it?
So a
Seriously,
pound
what
of
do they
coffee
get?
mailed to them
What
every
do you
month.
get?
Sweet T-shirts and a bag of beans.
Oh my God, that's
Right?
That's a great deal.
Yeah, you'd have to go and
For
watch
life
it. Everyone
or just
out there
for a year?
should watch. I mean, for $1,000, who knows what you get? We have to go look into it, I suppose. But yeah.
So we're living, we're swimming. Like, you know me, a kind of dreamy, kind of like positive guy. I'm like very optimistic about the industry, the way we could do battling with the board. Like together we could win. You're explaining to me that there's an entire constellation of mini Borgs around me.
So I have a question for you, Ed.
Yeah.
Now with Jason's definition in this
Of mini Borg.
all these like these satellite mini Borgs
Oh, yeah.
swirling around you at
Yeah.
all time.
Yeah.
With that definition,
Yeah.
Ed,
Yeah, I know what you're going to ask me.
are you a mini Borg?
Yeah.
Are you an
See?
aspiring
See?
mini Borg, Ed?
I'm listening to this conversation. I'm like, whoa, Jim does cider, seltzer, beer. Does he do any kind of CBD products as well?
I mean, not
Sodas?
yet, but who knows?
What, I have the aspirations of making all kinds of products as well. Maybe I am, through just merely breathing the same air as the Borg, absorbing their kind of sensibility. Am I a mini Borg? Am I a mini Borg?
Well,
To even be considered in the Borg family is great, and I think we should call King Kona just to check in and see.
I mean,
if that's
I know
actually
what they
cool.
would say. He'd say resistance is futile, Ed.
But I don't. I would actually say trying is futile as well, right?
Oh.
In our instance, right?
Yeah,
But that's very interesting, and I think maybe you're making me see that in some ways we are trying to do stuff, looking at the industry in general, looking at people interested in non-alcoholic beverages or any beverage, right? And trying to figure out ways that we could work as a small producer to make these products so that they don't buy them from the Borg.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's
You know
what
what I
we
mean?
have to.
That's the war. It's the war is against the Borg.
Well, let's go back to the
and all of its guises.
Wait, just a question for my gracious hosts here. What? I mean, but doesn't that kind of lead to like the South Park conundrum, where you have
Right.
people who start out as independent and maybe just size up, and maybe once they get too big for their britches, all of a sudden they're the Borg, and we can't support their stuff. Like, what would that look like here?
Right.
You know,
or what is the difference between somebody just trying to diversify in what they're interested in doing and being the Borg? Because I don't think Boston Beer is the Borg because they're making seltzer
Right.
and tea, right? I mean, it doesn't seem. I mean, Modern Times is making coffee. There's a lot of other. I mean, how many breweries have distilleries now?
yeah.
You
Right.
know, that doesn't make them the
Is it
Borg.
hedging your bets, or is it? To me, it was all about utilizing our old equipment and using equipment and downtime on our machinery, our canning machine, et cetera, to figure out ways of using
Being efficient.
it. Yeah, and also the fact that we self-distribute. We have our own distribution channel, so we could sell products to the same customers at restaurants or bottle shops, et cetera. Right?
Well,
Yeah.
I saw some Mars beer in a very unusual place on Tuesday.
Where?
Well, if you woke up today,
Yeah.
Thursday,
Yeah.
we are in a world where Lululemon, the yoga apparel, they have their own restaurant.
Yeah.
They opened one in Chicago this morning. I wrote
Can
the
you
story.
explain what Lululemon is, please?
Well, Lululemon is a
Everyone knows what that
Vancouver-based
is.
yoga apparel.
Is it just yoga or all active lifestyle?
More athletic, but everyone knows them from for their yoga stockings.
pants.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they had the really creepy founder that.
Ooh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, he had a creepy founder. He resigned in 2015. Google him. He's creepy.
Okay.
Yeah, and he also has a weird aversion to soda. And they don't have soda in this restaurant, which is in the Lincoln Park neighborhood. So on Tuesday, they've been trying to like send us the menus and everything. Nice. They have like the smoothies, the breakfast bowls, but they also have burgers and beer.
Nice.
Yeah,
The yoga lovers.
they want to spray. Yeah, they
post yoga reward.
They're Renaissance
And
folks.
they want to have cool things. They want to borrow people's
Cultural capital?
cultural capital, I guess.
appropriation.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit,
Yeah.
maybe?
Hang on a second. Who's appropriating here? Who? I guess what you're trying to say is that Mars is the only beer on that menu.
Yes. Lacrutis.
Yeah.
We saw the Mars Community Brewing, and it really made me see it through a different lens.
Yeah, Mars is kind of like in
Sellouts.
different kind of
Oh,
lifestyle
my bad.
categories. Look at me. Look at this body. You think I just get this by just sitting around playing video games and drinking beer and smoking a pack of cigarettes?
Yes.
Okay. Well, afterwards, I do a little yoga and I hang tough. You know, it's really interesting. I want to give credit to Justin, one of our sales guys, and he basically said, "Hey, man, the Lululemon guys want to try out our beer." He brought them over and basically showed them the depth and the breadth of our beer that we had. And they just kind of freaked out. They're like, "Oh my God, this beer is awesome! Like, I've never tasted a beer with rooibos tea." And they were talking about this store and this restaurant, and we didn't really think anything of it because this is like a meeting that happened like a long time ago. But sure enough, someone from that group remembered us, and they ordered our beer to have on that menu.
I really thought it was going to be like a Michelob Ultra commercial up in there.
That is incredible.
Right, that's true.
So
yeah,
people-
like I would have thought it would have been like Seltzer and Mick Ultra.
So think about this. The people who are in the yoga scene now see Mars as one of the healthiest beverages you can get. And I think that's a great vibe.
Got to get that mate
That
in
is
there, man.
incredible. So the Borg's tentacle reaches out from different directions.
Maybe
in
you're
different
not
ways.
so anti-Borg.
I would say that I'm probably the most anti-Borg person here,
So
besides Jason.
this is a valuable portion of this discussion because I think there was a time in craft where there were these facets of sales and marketing that were viewed as very Borgian. Borgian?
Even on the
Borg-
craft,
I like Borgian, bourgeois.
in the craft side.
Bourgeois.
That's nice.
Bourgeois.
Bourgeois. But yes, so where in 2019 is the line? Is selling on planes fine? In Lululemon, I would assume it's fine. Where does it start to go off the rails?
Well, I mean, I think Jason, you should weigh in on that. But two, I think, is it who you sell to, or is it how you set up your kind of sales network? Or I mean, Ed, no, I take it back, Ed.
Rob, what's going on?
You invented the term the Borg, right, for beer? Did you, or did
I
you
don't
not?
remember. I mean, I'll
Well,
take
take
credit.
credit for
I'll
it.
take credit for everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So what makes somebody? Is it who you sell to?
I don't know.
I mean, if the NRA opened up a restaurant, would you sell to them? Don't answer that question.
Who I would sell to, or a company would sell to?
Does that make what makes a company?
I think
the
if
Borg?
you're part of a monopoly corporation trying to crush everyone else within your segment or your industry, you're the Borg.
So by that stretch, Boston Beer isn't.
Are they really trying to crush us? I'm not sure. I don't know if I would see them as like, except I think what happens was they partner up with a distributor, and the distributor has them in their portfolio. They can offer 50 SKUs, and by definition, yeah, they're kind of crushing us. And I would argue that Boston being included in the definition of craft beer has always been a kind of like comedy to me personally. I don't understand why they keep.
They make more beer. They spill more beer than you make all year.
They spill more beer in a day that we would make it all year, right?
I mean, you know what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you
And I think
remember.
that.
Does anyone else remember that? That was his famous thing that he used to say.
Yeah, but I think that, but not anymore, Chris, because if we want to invoke Tony McGee's wisdom again, we're in that stage, the most difficult stage of the development of a brewery, going from 2,000 to 5,000 breweries or barrels. Yeah. But anyways, yeah, I don't know. I think we never really clearly defined the Borg or gave the definitions in the Borg.
So to come full circle,
because when you see the Borg, you know it's the Borg, Chris.
Right.
And I want to say, I would argue right now that we should define the Borg. And I think Jason is the perfect journalist
agree.
in the room
Couldn't
to
agree
help us
more.
to define Borg, mini Borg, and super mini Borg.
All right, let's
And what does Borgian mean?
Nano
or
Borg.
Borgoise?
Nano Borg.
Nano Borg.
Nanoborg.
let's
Like Mars, the Nano Borg.
Let's start with a quick poll of the room. If you acquire breweries, are you the Borg?
No.
I think it's almost
What
like
brewery?
a point scale. Like you get 5 points for acquiring
Yeah,
another
okay.
brewery. And
Okay,
if
you're
you have
right.
20,
It's
you're
a
the
tier.
Borg.
It's a tiered weighted point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So what
Yes,
if you
yes.
all right, if you acquire and shut down breweries?
Yes, you're the
all right,
Borg.
You're,
Absolutely.
You're
Yes.
the Borg.
Yeah.
Yes.
We
Okay.
agree on that. We better write these rules down right now. Cole, type this out. If you acquire and shut down a brewery, that makes you the Borg.
I think there's no doubt about it.
If you if you use your influence with distributors to make a lot of shelf space for yourself and to get a lot of tap space for yourself and create giant corners of the market through your leverage, does that make you the Borg?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
So my question, even prior to their acquisition, was Lagunitas the Borg?
Well, did they have leverage in a million SKUs to push out other brands? Yes or no?
I think
Do they have a lot of SKUs to push out other brands off the
They
shelf?
have a significant amount of SKUs.
enough
I
But
mean,
the
Yeah.
beer is all
SKUs.
very similarly flavored.
I think
is it
they
the
were.
flavor?
I guess my answer is
Because everyone-
no.
I would say no, too, because honestly, when Lagunitas hit Chicago, people didn't ask for Lagunitas IPA or Lagunitas little something something. Give me a Lagunitas. That was the crazy thing about what Lagunitas landed here.
They still do.
No one even knows what their brands are. They just say, give me a Lagunitas. It could have been a Pils, Hoppy Pils. Could have been a Pale Ale. Could have been the
Little
IPA.
something has its own little niche.
If you were savvy, grade B savvy, you would say little something something.
Okay.
But my experience, Lagunitas.
But we don't have a ton of time left. But what I would say is, in my mind, no, they weren't. But I think they might had some aspirations
to be Borg-like.
I think they were getting ready to go all over the world. They were getting ready to go to Asia. They were getting ready to go to South America, get in early, expand rapidly, and crush. And probably not really opposed to an early buyout. How about this? How about this for Mini Borg or Nano Borg?
Yeah.
What if
We need more definitions.
being acquired? What if being acquired is part of your business plan? Does that make you
Yes.
a
yeah.
Mini Borg?
Very Borgian.
It's a good question. That wasn't, saying yes, but yeah, that's it. And how many breweries are that? That's you're talking about
Many breweries.
Many
Yeah.
breweries.
Yeah.
So you aspire to be part. You are actually part of the Borg by actually having those aspirations.
I mean, there's a lot of breweries that missed out on the
Borg buyout?
the fire sale.
Yeah.
Who really were gearing up, I think, for that.
Yeah. Who would you just name some people? Let's throw some people under the bus.
I don't want to do that.
We could just talk about people who this already happened to. I mean, St. Archer, how many
Yeah.
times had we heard they were opened to be sold? Like that was the exact purpose of that brewery. However, it brings an even better question in, though. You look locally, you look at Rev, look at Half Acre. What's the next step for them if it isn't becoming the Borg? What do you do to prevent yourself from being Borgian while
Half Acre or Revolution, right? How do they prevent themselves from being Borgian?
by
By maintaining you do the model of New Glarus. New Glarus is the anti-Borg. New Glarus is we make beer that we want the entire state to drink. We want our local drinkers to have from all classes, from all walks of life. That's how you do that, right? I don't know. That's an anti-Borg stance, New Glarus.
I'd say so.
So,
No,
but
yeah.
we need more. We have like 9 minutes left to define what makes a Borg and mini Borg. Do you have any other observations of what makes you a Borg?
Honestly, I think it goes back to the business plan, but not necessarily being bought or sold. It's do you have that? How would you say that vulnerability in your business plan that would let something like that in? Whether it's the need for taking more private equity money, whether it's the expansion plans that take you out of your comfort zone. I would think that. If once you decide to go multi-state, and I don't mean like, oh, you have this place in Chicago and you're opening up in Schaumburg or something. Like if you decide that you want an East Coast brewery, if you decide that even if you want a European brewery, you're getting close. Like you look at Brooklyn when they did their deal, and yes, they are still.
Oh, great!
Yeah.
Explain this deal.
So
Brooklyn Brewery started off in New York.
Well, that's
1990 what? 5, 4, 3, 2?
Not important.
Yeah.
But the important part is that more recently took private equity money was it Asahi?
Yeah, from Asahi.
From Asahi, decided to open facilities and make partnerships in Europe. Also,
And in Korea.
That's right, and in Korea, and did some acquisitions too. They own 21st Amendment now.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
They're
And some
another
of
mini
Funkworks,
Borg.
Funkworks.
And
Yeah.
Funkworks.
So
Brooklyn's a mini Borg.
So that's
They
exactly
always
it.
kind of have been.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, so that's an interesting observation. But what was your point about them?
But my point is this:
Contracted.
but what was the other option for the? I think in looking for because you're going to end up just taking a
So
lot of
diluted.
breweries. Yeah. Well, you're going to take a lot of breweries out of the running if you're like, all right, this is the Borg. We can't patronize them anymore. How do you prevent locals from becoming the Borg and beyond Nuclearis? Because that's a plan where they drill down, but they're in kind of a unique situation.
You can't prevent it because, let's just imagine that Ballast Point, let's just suspend belief and say that they were truly intent on not becoming the Borg, They truly, deeply, all the people there at the top brass did not want to be the Borg, and then someone came with $1 billion check. That's why you can't prevent it, because someone's always going to sell for $1 billion. If you have $1 billion, you're going to find someone to buy. And it's just the truth. So I think...
Now, can we put a collar to this? Like, maybe there's like a Borgian isotope that flies off randomly, like a random lottery ticket. A radioactive chain reaction lottery ticket from the Borg flew off and just accidentally hit Ballast Point. Or do you think that they knew the whole time it was going to happen?
No, they've been around for like a couple decades.
Yeah.
But I think they saw their opportunity and then... those guys, Lagunitas and Ballast Point, they were the winners in the whole...
The Borg Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The great Borg Wars.
Borg Wars. Yeah, I would agree with you.
I would say Ballast Point and Lagunitas were the winners.
But I want to just say, like, as a nano Borg, if the Japanese want to buy out our properties or invest in us, there would be no other Borg nationality I'd want to sell out to than a Japanese Borg.
Why is that?
Because then I could go to Japan once in a while and hang out and get some great food and visit the temples and the shrines and live the shrine life. Although I've already been
shrine life.
I've been Borgified to really just walk around in the virtual reality of the shrine life would be worth it.
Okay.
I would sell out to shrine life.
Okay.
If you get good yoga pants for it.
Yeah, it's true.
Of course, in the shrine doing yoga. Well, who do you think I am?
Yeah, we know, Ed. We know exactly who you are. So we are at it. This was a short episode, so we are out of time. But I do want to thank my guests.
Wait a minute. Isn't there room for one more Borg rule?
Let's do it.
You got a Borg? You any more Borg defining rule sets?
I want to direct it to Ashok because I know that he has seen various locations of tap rooms and brew pubs and things like that. Does taking on all that capital, does expanding to multiple locations, does getting into food with aspirations of having something greater kind of pave the way to something Borgian? Is it a step toward that kind of greater growth?
Well, I've been kind of pondering this question with restaurants, and I think it could apply to breweries too. Why are you pouring your resources into a new facility when your employees are not being treated as well as they should be? Why don't you, up the benefits, up the wages? Instead, you see a lot of these restaurants, and again, I could apply to breweries, they're spread so thin, and they're just chasing. So, yeah, 100% that's Borgy.
So maybe if you want to stay in the anti-Borg front, invest in your current employees, make sure everyone has a better quality of life, make sure everyone has health care and lives the way that you would like to work no matter what place you are within the structure of your company.
100%.
That would be a statement for the anti-Borgian believers.
Nice. I'm feeling pretty good about myself in that case.
Yeah, me too.
All right. I'm certainly poor as hell, so that's probably several.
It's a sign of
non-Borg.
successful
non-Borg,
non-Borgian behavior.
Yeah.
But yeah, Chris, you're right.
any final words?
I want to
guys?
thank you for this
Yeah.
mini Borg expose.
Yeah, Jason. Ashok?
Well, the pleasure is all mine. I will note, however, that while they do have laser eyes and resistance is futile, they are mostly unionized. So that's another thing.
true.
Just keep in mind the
Ooh,
Borg.
the Borg has it built-in defense mechanisms.
That's it.
Interesting. Anything else? No? Ed, you want the final word here?
No, I don't.
Okay, I do then. I want to thank all my guests and thank you guys for all the winners of the Dust and Dust and Dust and Dust T-shirts. They will be mailed out. Thank you for contacting me. We're going to be sending out several. So thanks. You know what? Let's just say that if you really kind of catch my fancy with a funny review, you might get it. I'm getting played off. So thanks, guys. We'll see you next week. So long. I like
Remember, this is what we wanted. Remember, this is what we said. To never be heard, seen from again, 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 again.